Whatever happened to those Mafali separatists? Come on, separate. Hurry it up. Got myself a new tablet stand, and every time it flicks on, it distracts me. Let's put the cover on it so I can't see that anymore. Nice having what's effectively a third screen over there now, though. It's useful. Especially doing multiplayer or during like the Paradox streams where I need to keep tabs on what other people are saying. Alright, rebels are dealt with. You are ticking down again. Question of rights. A subject of ours holds land. No, I'm not going to take that. I'll lose their claim. But what I will do is start thinking about integrating Scotland! Because I keep on forgetting that Scotland's actually ours. Sardinia Piedmont. End hostilities between the court and the country. The state is triumphant. They got the maximum. So Sardinia Piedmont's going to start hitting even harder now. The diplomatic approach of Pogwabga. While growing up in Lobi, Pogwabga enjoyed learning of the world. She's always asking questions and often pondered ways to make life easier for people. That's lovely. So frustrating, I made a comment to... the other day in Star Trek Online's stream about accessibility, and one of the devs reached out to me asking me to talk to him about my experiences in the game. And then there's Paradox, who I can't seem to make care about. The problem with Paradox games is their engines are so old. Like, it is actually... well, I don't know how much to say, because I don't know. I'm not going to defend them, because I don't know why they're not. My feeling would be because the engines are too old, they can't handle the UI scaling, but I don't know. Do I play Stellaris? Are you talking to me or to Katie? Geldum's still around. Oh no, Geldum's been integrated by Portugal. Portugal! You're just giving me more reasons to hate you right now. And seeing as we're a long way away from getting the Enlightenment, we may as well just continue getting trade steering and to the other ideas. And we're getting closer and closer to that juicy goods produced plus 20% from quantity. Support to the Great Mansa. We are going to take the manpower. Our manpower is actually restoring itself really nicely at the moment. Kind of more quickly than I expected. And in fact, you know what I should be doing? I should be just drilling during all this. Alright, we need another name. This is going to be... Mother. Yep. Oh, and then there's going to be one that can't actually drill because they don't have a general. Which would have been the upside of innovativeness, that I could have got another general slot. Disloyal officers. Right away afterwards. Of course it was. Now we can get it to 71, so this has just been too late. Cape Coast. And I think at this point I kind of need to keep a rebel army around. So that we don't automatically complete Court and Country by accident. So what I might do is leave the 44k stack down. Oh no, you're the guys that are over here. Fair enough. Ah, and you're supposed to move to here so we can start colonizing that. Forgot to do that some time ago. Right, I do not want you moving. I'm just going to let you keep Cape Coast for now. Luxembourg. Accept, negotiate with the Frondeurs. Can't find any videos you made in Twitch. Yes, because Twitch only stores videos for 2 months. If you look at my YouTube, you'll find a lot more. I haven't done Stellaris for a while, though, I'll admit. I'm just not as interested in it as I used to be. Not because I think any of the changes or anything like that they've made are bad, just not that interested. Game prestige. Speaking of prestige, what we should probably do... Oh, man. I want the stability. Take the stability. But then I'm going to disinherit this guy because I'm pretty sure we can do better. You're still only 40. You had another kid! Come on! That's 8 points. That's the same as the previous guy. And now you have a weak claim. Brilliant. Grand Army, force limit. Yes, what I definitely need is more force limits. To add to the 350,000 that I can already have. And seeing as I can only afford to pay 230,000 of them, it's probably not the most useful. Oh! And we can now do the Edict of Absolutism. We've now got every single edict. I don't think I've ever done that before. In an age. Just too bad it's the worst age. There are so few useful things in that age. Especially compared to the other three. Growth in the business of ivory carvings. +2 base production. Nice. Am I also going to make Ambanar tutorials explaining unique Ambanar mechanics? No plans to. The problem that I have with tutorials is each one takes about 8 hours to do. Kind of regardless of the length. It always takes about 8 hours to script, to record, to get like all the saves in the right place that I need them to be so that I can explain things on screen. And then of course the dreaded editing. And they are incredibly hit or miss. Like some of them do incredibly well, like the Hearts of Iron 4 naval tutorial. It's done amazing. It's got 100,000 views. Fantastic. But that's a bit of an outlier. My other tutorials get like 1,000 views, and then the 8 hours of work is just not worth it. Oh, the colony finished. Did we get the agenda done? No. Oh, it's because it's not in Mesopotamia. And you've somehow sent another one here. What the hell? From Portuguese Brazil. Oh, it's because you do actually have a province next door. Then why is it taking so long? I need to edit that report. Because it's wrong. How do I edit this? Portuguese Brazil does actually own the province next door, which makes this situation even more odd. Because I think they should actually be able to reach. Okay. I'm not seeing any other suggestions, so we'll go with that. And was that an open question to me about what I don't like about Stellaris? I do think the changes they made to Stellaris made it a much worse game. They can't just find any enjoyment in it anymore. Yeah, I don't know what it is about Stellaris, because it's another grand strategy game which I feel I should enjoy, because I enjoy basically all of the other ones. I just find it kind of boring. Because I know that in the run-up to Federations, I felt like it was going completely the wrong direction. My problem with Stellaris has always been that it stagnates, and it stagnates hard from like the mid-game onwards. The only saving grace about late-game Stellaris is the crises, which I think are very good. And then they brought in Federations, which is like, okay, so you know how the world stagnates? And that's your biggest problem with it, Mordred? Well, we're going to make it stagnate even more by emphasizing the use of Federations, which is probably one of the biggest causes of that stagnation. There's just no dynamicism, there's no change to the world diplomat, or the galactic diplomatic situation. It never changes. And then they did Federations, which just locks that in even further. I'm just like, it's not the game for me. One of the things that I love about EU4, and I think is honestly one of its strongest points, even though it's a relatively obscure one, is how dynamic the game is. Like, at one point, you might be allied to somebody, and then the next point, you're stabbing them in the back because they've taken a colony that you really wanted. Which happens all the time in this. Or they rise to become such a major power that you're kind of going, bit afraid of you now. You might actually become a threat. You break your alliance, then you start working against them, or you start like diplomatically wrangling against them. So, yeah, like Ottomans. At one point, we came really close to allying them. And we were like, okay, we're going to help the Ottomans as a bastion against European imperialism. But Europe has been such a fragmented, terrible place that it just never really, no threats ever really materialised from here. Also, Desmond actually formed Ireland. That's impressive. So now the Ottomans and I are rivals. It's like a complete reversal of the potential diplomatic situation that we could have had there. Same with the Mamluks. At one point, I was rival to them. I'm now allied because I'm worried about the Ottomans. That's the kind of dynamicism which you can have in EU4, which you just can't get in Stellaris. And I think that's what I dislike most about it, honestly. But then Stellaris has the problem, which, considering it's in space and it's 3D, is kind of a hilarious problem. You can't move as much as you can in EU4. EU4 is far more open because you've got the oceans, and nobody controls the oceans unless you get naval superiority, but that only matters if you're at war. Whereas in Stellaris, you've got this concrete area of land which is yours, and if you have a neighbour, you can't move through them. You can't colonise through them, you can't start setting up colonies somewhere else. So actually, one of the things I probably dislike about Stellaris is the fact that they changed to hyperlanes. I get why they did it, it's a more strategic game, it's all about controlling choke points, but it's also blocked off the ability to move. It's blocked off that kind of added opportunity for expansion, because if you're not directly adjacent to me, I don't give a damn about you. I really don't. You have zero interest to me unless you're my direct neighbour. Because you just don't matter. I can't get to you and you can't get to me. And I think that's probably my biggest problem with Stellaris. Like, the reason for the lack of dynamicism is your nations and your place in the galaxy is so frozen that you can't shift. You can't move. I think that's probably the core of it. And I don't know how to fix that. It's the whole concept of borders, I guess, that stops it. Like Master of Orion, I see some of you talking about Master of Orion right now. Were there distinct borders in that, or did you just move between star systems, and as long as you were able to jump between those star systems, you could colonize them? Why do I not unsiege the fort taken by the rebels? Because I don't want to complete this crisis. As long as that rebel fort is still held, we're only 1 year away from the disaster being active for 10 years. And I still haven't got my absolutism up to as high a level as I want it to be, because I've still not gotten rid of the bloody merchant guilds. And now that I've realised that the game was lying to me and that this province was not actually here, it's just made me even more mad. Because I can't now complete this. You can even share systems in Master of Orion. Yeah. And there are no borders, I thought so. Thing in this period is real history, a dynamic diplomacy as well, perhaps the most famous example being the diplomatic revolution of 1755 when France and Austria allied after being rivals for about 250 years. Yeah, and like even slightly more modern examples were like France and Britain. The fact that those two were allied in the First and the Second World War, to somebody in this era would have blown their freaking mind. Stellaris could use neutral space of some sort, no planets, no resources, just a place to move. Yeah, I would agree. Because that's my fundamental problem with Stellaris. I just get bored after a certain period. Like, everything's so set in stone. It's just like... the status quo is not going to change because there's no reason for it to change. Until the crisis occurs. And then you're just kind of sitting there for 8 hours waiting for the crisis to spawn. You deal with the crisis and you're like, okay, well, we're done. Like, there are some things about Stellaris I absolutely love. I actually really like the tech system in Stellaris, for example. The fact that you get the semi-randomized cards. I do wish there was a bit more intuitive way of describing when you're going to get what cards and what kind of causes those technologies to be chosen. But I quite like the tech system. The planet system, ambivalent. It's alright, I guess, with the population pops. I'm going to say it. I'm going to be super controversial. I don't like pop systems. I know a lot of people have really big problems with EU4 saying, oh, development, why don't you just use pops? I love the development system. I hate pop systems. I find that actually development does a far better job of giving you that strategic giant overview. Though that being said, I am excited about Victoria 3 and I'm curious to see how they do pops. I didn't like pops in Imperator. I thought that pops made it a worse game. The only reason I liked pops was because I could convert tribesmen into citizens. And then I just tried to convert everyone into citizens because they produce tech, and tech wins everything. I don't like pops. And everyone that's calling for EU5 to have pops, I really hope it doesn't. I really, really hope it doesn't. Aimhob wants me to drink some tea. I think I can do that. That's true. Stellaris music is awesome. 100% agree with that. What do you think of Victoria 2? I think with pops, if you're going to use them, you've got to go the whole way. Like, pops and Imperator are basically development points that you have far less control over. I like dev. Makes me feel better about building tall. Pops and building tall just makes me feel crowded. The problem with pops in a game where you're trying to build tall is you have basically zero control over those pops. Like, yeah, you get tall. I feel zero sense of accomplishment because they just happened over time. Wow. I had no control over where they are or how they developed. I find it really underwhelming. But in Victoria, where the pops actually have different cultures, different religions, different job types, that works better because it's not just saying, okay, this pop produces science and this pop produces manpower. There's more to it than just that. And I'm so glad that Lambert's not watching this. Or if he is, sorry Lambert. I know that that's like the polar opposite to his opinion. I only want PDX to make all tooltips in Victoria 3 understandable. I want to convert those poles and bolts to glorious Russian culture. And I really want to know what modifiers I should max in, whether it's even valuable. Economy is also nice. The one thing which I will say against EU4, which I would definitely like to see, it's not going to be possible for EU4, but if there was a EU5 at some point, what I'd really like to see is trade good values actually being related to supply and demand. That's something which Victoria does really well. Like Victoria 2, one of its strongest things is the constant fluctuation of prices depending on whether they're being used. Even EU3 had this to an extent where if a nation was building lots and lots of ships, then naval supplies price would rise. If you're building a lot of artillery, if there is just a lot of artillery globally, then the price of copper and iron would rise. And yeah, I know that Mayon Taxes has it, and I think that's awesome because it shows that theoretically you can do it. Please be nice to our Scots when you annex us. Yeah, right. We should probably get back to the game. Too much ranting about other things. I'm still trying to work out how to do this, because now you're going to get to 68, which is too low. Again, even with this. Oh, what am I going to do about the flipping merchant guilds? Oh, meritocratic recruitment's increasing influence. We can get rid of that for a start. Yes, we can go to the Amirs with a leader cost, or the clergy, which gives another... Oh, admin free policy. I mean, I won't say no to that, because we're going to get some of them soon. Yeah, we're going to go to the clergy. Right, so that should drop you to 68. Land share is roughly half, so if we sold the land to you now... Oh, I can't sell land because we've got a rebel. So if I was going to do that, I've got to do it now. Otherwise, we would auto-complete this. Oh, good grief. That just makes this even more complicated. Do you have both royal decree and political absolutism? Yes. Oh, no, I don't have royal decree. That's true. We can do that. But that still is too little absolutism. That gets us to 51. We need it to be 65. Like, really, we've got to get rid of controlled gold mining. Can't do anything about the Centres of Trade. Can't do anything with the Citywood development. So 17, 14, 17, 16, we get rid of some of the influence buffs. Equilibrium is a 35%. Because Land of Commerce drops it. It would be 40 otherwise. I love how much effort's been put into Mayon Taxes, but I just stare at the map and have no idea how to do anything sensible. Watch Count Christo's tutorial series. Should help. Viking 3 community is super split from what I can see on the forums and server. People who like where they're going, people who think the game is being made too easy. Needs to be more complex and number crunchy. I disagree with those people. I actually really like the front system. Because they're clearly taking the lessons they've learned from Front and Hearts of Iron and applying it to Victoria. I think it's actually a pretty good direction to go. The only thing that I might have a problem with is how much control you have over the composition of your battalions. Because I think it's going to be a mistake if you don't have any control over it. Or like which general is assigned to which battalion and then what orders you give them on those fronts. That I think would be a mistake if they make that too streamlined. And at the moment I feel like they are, but that might well be something they do in a future DLC. Much like the tank designer. To be honest, Vicky 2 combat's so poor. I like Vicky 2's combat. The only thing I dislike about it is the millions and millions and millions of generals you need to have. Give me a way of having multiple armies commanded by the same general fronts, then that's a good thing. I quite like the way that it kind of went from small-scale skirmishes to vast World War I trench situations where the front lines just don't move because it's too hard to break them. I thought it modelled that part of history pretty well. Right, back to working out how to get rid of the merchants. 68 influence. At least it's not 78 anymore. Corruption.